There's a war raging in the Bitcoin community over an upcoming controversial change to the software that runs Bitcoin nodes. In this video, I'm going to get into the op-return debate, consider both sides of the argument, and give you some food for thought. It's a technical subject, but I'll do my best to keep it simple. If you are invested in Bitcoin, work in crypto, or just love a good show, this is important, so be sure to stick around. The debate centers on an upcoming change to the software that currently runs the majority of Bitcoin nodes. This software is called Bitcoin Core. That name is used to refer to the software itself and also to the group of developers that maintains this software. Bitcoin Core, the group, is planning to issue an update to Bitcoin Core, the software, in or around October of this year. The new update, version 30, will change a filter in the software called op-return. The op-return filter currently permits up to 83 bytes of arbitrary, non-monetary data to be relayed by default across the network, which data is subsequently added to the Bitcoin blockchain once mined. I'm showing my age a bit here, but think of op-return like a paper check that contains a memo line. That memo line allows you to write a note to yourself that says what you're buying or whatever else to go along with the monetary exchange the check represents. So it is with op-return. The upcoming version 30 removes Core's long-standing 83-byte cap and the one op-return rule in relay policy, moving the cap to 100,000 bytes, a radical increase. So why the change, and why is it so contentious? To understand the big picture, we need to consider what's going on in Bitcoin on the surface and behind the scenes. Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin in 2009 to be a monetary network. Bitcoin works because it's simple. It's not a smart contract platform. It's not a dumping ground for GIFs and videos and other garbage. There's plenty of other places for that. Bitcoin is designed to facilitate the transfer of value permanently and transparently. It's designed to be money. In my view and the view of many others, anything besides monetary transactions on Bitcoin is spam. If you think I'm biased using that word, you're right. Spam is undesirable, and it creates problems for Bitcoin's decentralization by bloating the blockchain. The bigger the blockchain, the more hardware and computing power is required to run a node. The more expensive it is to run a node, the fewer the number of people who can do it. That's centralization, and it cuts against Bitcoin's fundamental principles. That all said, bad actors are going to do what they do. They're going to place as much garbage as they can in as many places as they can. Why? Perhaps to show that they can, or to boost their company's transaction fees and control over the network. Maybe they're just nihilists, who knows? We need to accept that these people are out there and Bitcoin must be able to deal with it. That's what being anti-fragile is all about. The question is, how do we deal with spam? So begins the debate. In the red corner, we have Bitcoin Core, which supports this change. I carefully read and dissected the words of Core developer Gloria Zhao, who posted Core's, or perhaps just her, rationale on GitHub on June 9, 2025. The link to her comments is below. Now, I want to be clear that I don't speak for anyone but myself, and I encourage you to read all of the linked materials for clarity. That said, if I understood Ms. Zhao's comments, the rationale is as follows. First, arbitrary, non-standard data on Bitcoin is nothing new. People are already using data elements other than op-return to include arbitrary data. They are using, in Ms. Zhao's words, standard protocols or standard methods to accomplish this, which have the ultimate result of polluting Bitcoin's UTXO set, where an output appears to be spendable but is not. Nodes keep the UTXO set hot in fast storage so that they can verify new transactions quickly. This is important in that when a user stuffs spam into the UTXO set, you end up with an always-on state for data elements that do not represent spendable outputs. Op-return data, in contrast, is provably unspendable. While op-return data is eventually as permanent as any other, it is not kept at the ready in the same way. The second argument is that expanding the outputs using op-return will harmonize transaction relay policy with what is actually being mined. As it stands now, spammers are going around public mempools through direct-to-miner submissions. Large economic actors like L2s, exchanges, and so forth are choosing to build direct relationships with large miners in order to get their non-standard transactions mined. Marathon's Slipstream, for example, is an openly advertised direct submission pipeline for large or non-standard transactions. This private client-style favoritism harms price discovery and transparency with respect to what is in each block. Expanding op-return, she argues, will discourage this type of behavior, as a more flexible relay policy will lift the curtain on the number and character of these non-standard transactions. Third, Zhao is basically saying, chill. We're not trying to be Ethereum. We're offering a default relay policy to prevent people from polluting the UTXO set. The filter's not going away, we're just creating a better space for use cases that are occurring anyway. Further, she reasons, it's not Core's place to make value judgments as to what use cases are or are not acceptable on Bitcoin. Okay, now in the blue corner, we have the growing number of node runners tossing Core overboard to run Bitcoin Knots, an alternative implementation of the Bitcoin node software. Knots is supported by prominent Bitcoiners like Luke Dasher and others, links below. I'd also like to give a special shout out here to Matthew Crater for his intelligent and insightful coverage of this debate. I'm going to use Knots as a proxy here for people who oppose the change. These node runners are very critical of the opportune change and warn of some very serious consequences if it proceeds. Here are the main arguments. First, blowing open the opportune filter is the absolute worst approach to reducing non-monetary data. If you agree that spam is bad, this group reasons, the solution is not to open up another vector for it. If somebody is trying to break into your house, you don't open the window and just accept that it's going to happen. Core has declined to adopt proposed inscription filters in the past, and now they want to create an additional opportunity to relay even more non-standard data by default. Their reason makes no sense. Second, they take exception to Core's argument that filters just don't work, that people are going to spam the network one way or another. The perfect, they argue, should not be the enemy of the good. People respond to incentives and disincentives. Keeping tight limits on opportune data discourages spam, even if it doesn't eliminate it entirely. Expanding opportune use will do absolutely nothing to change user behavior, especially if the old standard methods are left unaddressed. Third, and I think this is the most disturbing aspect of all of this, is the question of what kind of horrible garbage goes into opportune when the filter is relaxed. Give people a blank canvas and they will paint whatever's on their mind. There is a very real possibility that this will change Bitcoin in a manner that it ends up getting seriously polluted with the most horrible imaginable content. This isn't entirely speculation. It's exactly what happened to Bitcoin SV when it opened up its opportune usage to the same cap that Core is proposing here. Now, it's not a precise comparison. The fees and standard relay caps are different between the two chains. Also, SV underwent a change to its consensus mechanism, which is not what Core is proposing. But it is a warning. There are very real risks to node runners here. Though it can be pruned, running a node requires that you first download the Bitcoin blockchain, all of it, to your computer. Plus, if you use Core 30's default settings, your node's mempool will be holding and relaying unconfirmed transactions with God knows what in them. Put simply, running a node when there are not just links, but complete images or videos of complete filth presents considerable legal risk. Okay, so now that we know the fighters and their arguments, let's break it down. First, Core. In fairness, Core is not exactly proposing to throw Satoshi out the window here, at least not for the moment. This is a policy change, not a fork, not an overhaul of the consensus mechanism. That said, at the root of Ms. Zell's comments is a reasonable actor assumption. In other words, if you expand opportune capacity by default, theoretically some users will see that as a better alternative to clunky data hiding in witness elements. In theory, they will abandon UTXO pollution and direct-to-miner arrangements. Are these assumptions valid? Well, maybe, maybe not. I can see that a percentage of data stuffers, perhaps large corporate players looking to shape Bitcoin to their liking, might see opportune as a better place to do business than witness elements. But it sounds a bit like a solution looking for a problem. That and the solution has some very serious risks. Next, nuts. Does this group have their shorts in a twist over a nothing burger? I don't think so. Anytime you handicap risk, you need to ask two things. What is the potential harm and how likely is it to occur? Here the harm is extremely serious. No one in their right mind wants to have anything to do with horrible things on their computers or otherwise. Is it likely to occur? I would say yes, it is. Look at what's going on over the internet more generally. It's sickening. Why would Bitcoin be any different, especially when the software rolls out the red carpet for filth? I'd like to think more of people on this issue, but reality intrudes. In any case, I want to end on a positive note. First, Bitcoin is a survivor. It's been through civil wars before. It stood the test of time, at least in crypto and dog years. It will again. Second, there is a way out. If you don't like Core, run nuts, as thousands of known runners have done already. Well, this has been a long journey. If you're still with me, I'm very grateful. I'm Murray Good, blockchain lawyer. Please get in touch with any questions or if I can help. Thank you.